This conference will now be recorded.
When we first started doing these, I didn't know everybody could hear that. So the presenter would start going and I would do it and I'm like, oh, sorry guys.
Yeah, it's been quite a learning curve, hasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Technology is something else. All right, well, I guess we can go ahead and get started. People will probably jump on as we get going. Guys, thank you everyone for coming on today. We have a great session with Deanna Rhodes from Connect Summit County. We will be sending out, we are recording this session and then we will send it out to you guys so you can pass it along to your employees or whoever you see fit after this, as well as with Deanna's contact information and some stuff about Connect Summit County. If you have any questions, feel free to jump on and ask at any point, or you can use the chat feature as well. And yeah, I'll give it to you, Deanna, and take it away.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everybody who is on the call live and for anybody who will be listening later on. We really, really appreciate it. Something that we at Connect Summit County, so our mission is to create a well-informed, stigma-free community with access to mental health resources for everyone. And apologize for just 1 second. Try to pull back the presentation. There we go. All right, is the presentation being shared? Everyone, anyone?
Nope, I don't see anything.
Okay.
Now I can see your screen.
Yep, there we go.
All right.
Okay, cool. I apologize. So as soon as I started talking, it all went away. All right, so I'll begin again. As Lindsay said, my name is Deanna Rhodes, and I am the Executive Director of Connect Summit County. And this presentation is about, we labeled it Shift Change. And I would say this is probably one of the ultimate shift changes. And it's about returning to work after this crisis and mental health. And so Connect Summit County is a nonprofit here in Summit County. Our mission is to create a well-informed, stigma-free community with access to mental health resources for everyone. There are incredible organizations in our community that offer direct services, and what Connect is here to do is really help break down that stigma so that people feel very comfortable going and reaching out for those resources, as well as trying to connect people to the resources. And then of course we advocate for better resources. So we look around and we see the landscape fully and we recognize where there's gaps or there's challenges. So we're always looking to gather feedback on people's experiences and what they see from their space. And something that really got this conversation going was back in September last year, we worked with the Park City Chamber to be able to work with the Park City Chamber to be able to do a focus group. And that focus group was a lot of small business owners here in Summit County. And we came together in a group. And what I found to be one of the most informative piece of that was that people were sitting across from each other having what you'd consider maybe competing businesses, and they were really talking to each other and recognizing they were struggling with exactly the same challenges, and they were right across the street from each other. And I think that opened up the dialogue. There's lots of work to continue to do, but as we are navigating returning back to work and reopening a lot of businesses, I think that this conversation is incredibly relevant. And as I mentioned earlier, I titled this presentation Shift Change, and I would consider this being one of the ultimate shift changes. And we have this opportunity right now to reset our organizations and our businesses to have a mental health focus at work. And I think that's important. You know, we didn't just close for the season or close for some cleaning. We've closed for a global pandemic. And while everyone's experience is different, people have all had an experience in that. And that creates this incredible opportunity for connection and an opportunity for people who are owners to set the environment of their organization, their business, to say that, yes, this is a safe space with mental health, and we know how to get you to resources if you need those. It's also an opportunity for managers who probably have a lot more forward-facing contact with employees, you know, again, to say, you know, my door is open and I know where to direct you. And then lastly, just for coworkers to be comfortable to share with each other. In my experience, and why, you know, I'm the executive director of Connect, which is the reason why I have this role to play here, but I also have a part-time job at Starbucks, and I participated in their reopening meeting last week, where it was they had two meetings. One, the first meeting was 2 hours dedicated to talking about our experiences that we have had since the store has been closed, and to be able to reconnect to our mission and reconnect to each other and really help learn some of these tools that we could use. And something that dawned on me in that conversation was that, you know, Starbucks is a huge corporation with a lot of incredible resources available to them. And I can imagine that there are other businesses in town that probably don't have that same type of resources. And so I wanted to, as Connect, be able to be a partner here and really share what we know and what we can do for the community. So with that, you know, Utah ranked last in the nation for mental health. This is a statistic prior to the pandemic, but we do not do a great job here in Utah. So we have a lot of work to do, and I think that this is exactly the time that we should be doing it. So, and I don't know exactly the capabilities of the participation in this, but I'd love if anybody can chime in or put into the chat. I would love to hear what people are thinking is going to be the biggest challenge when it comes to returning to an office environment or into a restaurant or business in the community. I'd love to hear that. And if there's not the opportunity for participation, then I'll cede that. But if anybody has anything they can drop in the chat, that would be great. So I'll pause for a minute and let that go, but I'll go ahead and chat a little bit. So some of the things that I have heard from the community and my own personal experiences, you know, going back into the community, there's certainly a level of fear of being safe. Is it safe for me to show up in this environment? And what is that going to look like? And I think it's interesting because a lot of businesses will be faced with that from their employees, and but they're also going to be faced with this from their customers. And so some of your employees might be experiencing this level of fear that's not even their own fear. And I think that's going to be a really big challenge that we have to think through and overcome, how we deal with that and how we keep everyone kind of okay in that sense. Other things, you know, there's definitely some tension. There are a lot of people whose work has exploded and they have been working maybe harder than they have in the last couple of years during this time, where there's other people who have had absolutely nothing to do. And so they've been sitting mostly at home with you know, having a lot of loneliness, feeling not very motivated, you know, and that's two different, that creates a tension. It's two different spectrums. Also, I believe that, you know, something I had heard that was really interesting, and someone was really lovely and shared their experience with me is, you know, they felt like a failure. And I thought that was really interesting because obviously this is so in our heads, it's so clearly out of our control. But this person was saying that she felt like a failure because her job's abruptly ended and she couldn't do anything about it. And she's so used to going to work, and that was causing a lot of stress and friction in her mind. And so, I think, again, just really thinking through what are some of these biggest challenges to overcome is really important as we make this transition and we all make it together. So also, this is not an old statistic, but a prior to this pandemic statistic. 1 in 5 Utahns lives with a mental illness. And I think just for a second, let that sink in. This is according to NAMI, which is the National Association of Mental Illness, and 1 in 5 Utahns lives with a mental illness. And what I would say in my next slide here is it's okay to not be okay, because right now, because of all the different things that are going on, most of us, and I will say myself, we're not okay all the time. And I think it's really important right now to acknowledge that, to recognize that, to give our own selves a little bit grace. I have had lots of conversations with people about sleep, and I will tell you personally, I have not been able to sleep lately, and that makes my daily life very, very difficult. And so we all have to recognize that there are different things we're going through. And again, give ourselves a little bit of grace, give ourselves permission for that self-care that we need to do, as well as the people around us. And this looks different. If you manage people, you have a little bit more ability to encourage them to take care of their own self-care. If you are coworkers, just kind of sometimes reminding each other, hey, it's okay to take a walk around the block. It's okay to step outside. I'm here to listen if you'd like to talk to me, those types of things. And I think, again, as a community, we need to pull together more than we ever have before. So this slide is blank. And the reason why is, right now we'll transition into talking about some tools and what we can really be doing to support our teams that we work with. So this slide is blank because I'm encouraging you to take space. And if you take nothing away from this conversation and this call, what I would encourage you is to just consider mental health as you're returning back to your workplaces and possibly reopening businesses that if you are the owners. And this is, again, it's important. It's important to be intentional. As I mentioned, this is a shift change, and this is an opportunity to reset ourselves for mental health. I would, again, if anybody feels comfortable dropping in ideas in the chat, I think sometimes it can be really magical for us to connect with each other and hear our ideas. I have a couple of things, and then we'll go a little bit dig it a little bit deeper. But first, this is an opportunity to reconnect to the mission of what you do and why you do it. And I think that's a good reset to remember that. That can be very, it's alignment and getting your entire team, in my experience, I feel that most of the teams I've been a part of really is a family. And so I've been away from my family for 6 to 8 weeks, and coming back, you have to have that realignment. And sometimes there's a little bit of readjustment, and reminding yourselves why you're there, what your mission is, what the business is that you're in, and what you're trying to do can really help get everyone back on that same page together. I would also encourage you to consider within staff meetings really doing some mental health work. One tool that can be really grounding is a meditation, so doing some type of mindfulness meditation. I did this with my team about a week ago, just because I felt like we were all swirling around and really bouncing around, and we took 5 minutes. It didn't take long at all. We went through a very short guided meditation that I found on the Calm app, and that allowed everyone to really just ground in and reset for the day. And I think that's a tool that people can use almost anytime, anywhere. So encouraging people to do it together, but also recognizing that there are apps out there Connect Summit County just posted on our Facebook page something like 10,000 apps that address mental health. Obviously, you don't want 10,000 apps, but there are tools out there that people can use that literally just live in their pockets. And I would say Calm, Headspace are two that come to my mind when it comes to that meditation type of piece, which can be very helpful. I mentioned this already, but I would encourage you to start to weave in mental health into staff meetings. And this can look a lot of different ways, and only you all know who your teams are and the people in the room and what resonates, right? But I would just absolutely, if you are a manager or a leader of your organization, the most powerful thing you can do is lead with your own experience and your own personal stories. And that can be very scary and that can be vulnerable. And I completely honor and respect that. But that is the most powerful thing that a person can do. So I would just encourage you to think about that. And if that resonates, certainly try to make it a safe space for your employees or people that you manage to bring issues to you. And that doesn't mean that you as the leader have to solve those problems, but ideally you have those resources to be able to connect them to what they need to do. And at the end of this presentation, I'll go through those resources that Connect has and how we can be a partner in this work with you. And so again, I think everything we will discuss is an invitation. It's always optional. It's something that you can consider for yourself. I would consider trying to have your employees connect with each other, because we really have had this collective experience. And while our experiences have been different, it is a very uniting opportunity, and allowing space to let employees connect to each other can be really really valuable for the connection and the long-term mental health of your organization. So I would encourage you to think about that. All right, so we've been looking at this blank screen for a little bit. All right, so some of the more deeper tools that I wanted to go into is validating experiences. And depending on how much work and how much management training a person has been through, this may be old news, but I will tell you that this is something you have to practice all of the time. And I think it's an incredible tool. And right now, I mentioned earlier that some of the difficulties and challenges of going back to work is people's experiences, while the same, have been so different. And so validating these experiences is going to be very important as we come back together. And I would say this is true for your teams and people that you work with, but it's also going to be true for customers that you encounter, customers or clients. And I think it's a great tool that everybody could be using. So here are the steps. And again, just practice, but use open-ended questions. Asking people how, what is a lot better way to go about it than asking them why. Why do you think that? Because that might be a little too aggressive of a question. Then after you ask those questions, check for the understanding. Did I hear this right? Is this what you meant when you said? Checking for that understanding will really help make, it obviously helps you understand, but it really helps make that person feel that they were heard, because it gives them that opportunity to say, no, that's not what I meant at all. Or yes, that's exactly right. Thank you for seeing me. Next, express that their emotions make sense. And then I bolded this because, focus on the common experience. Right now, while our experiences have been slightly different, we really have this common denominator. And this is what builds communities. This is what builds teams. This is what brings people together and makes them very close and tight knit. And I would just encourage the group here to focus on that common experience. And so when you're doing this individually, you're using an open-ended question, you're checking for that understanding, and then expressing that their emotions make sense, literally. That really makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you for sharing. And then I would, personally say I've had a similar experience where I felt that way too, and say that. And a lot of sharing is really trying to meet people where they are, and if someone shares with you, you share back, and that's what starts to build that relationship and connection ongoing. So this is again, I would say just something that's really important. It might be super simple to a lot of people, but it takes a lot of practice, even if this is something that you know. I will read this. Normally, calamities, like you said, unite us in some way. We suffer the same problems, but going back to work also has the dichotomy of feelings. There's some sort of mistrust lingering. Did these coworkers been somewhere that could jeopardize my health? Did they take all the necessary precautions and so on? Absolutely. I think, again, when we come to the difficulties, that's absolutely, I think a lot of people are coming from that perspective, and that's a difficulty of reopening that we all have to really kind of encounter and go through and recognize that people are going to have those different feelings. And so just in the practice here of validating your experiences, right? Like, I would ask you, how has this been a challenge for you, or what's your, what is some of that mistrust that is lingering, just for more clarification. Check that I understood. Did I understand you correctly that, you're worried about that your health could be jeopardized? That makes complete sense. And then I'd like, focus on that common experience. I've encountered that as well. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, so I'll slip to the next slide. This one is similar, and I think this goes deeper. So I would encourage, again, if you do nothing else, I would definitely try to make space for your teams and do that in the way that feels good. Second, I would encourage you to really practice this validating, and encourage your team to validate as well, and kind of give them that opportunity to practice, because it will help everyone grow. These other two they're a little bit deeper, but what they are is they're exercises to really have people think. So challenging assumptions. And I'll go a little bit slow. I know it's hard to interact, so I'll just assume that on your end you're thinking. You can think or write this down if that was compelling to you, but I'll go slowly through this. So first, think about someone who frustrates you. Okay, so if you have this person in your mind, someone who has frustrated you, now identify that behavior that tends to frustrate you. Now, as you're thinking of those behaviors, whether it's a particular person that always has the behavior, or maybe it's just in a situation and a behavior in a certain time. Now, why do you think that they behave in a way that's frustrating to you? All right, so this is the difficult work. Now think of 5 alternative explanations for why they might be behaving this way. Okay, so 5 can be a lot. I think if you got to 2 or 3, that would be solid, but if you get to 5, that's even better. As you consider those alternative explanations, notice any changes in how you feel. So this exercise, again, can be it's really leading up to the next slide, which is about empathy. And what this is it helps you, what I define empathy as, it's not the clinical term, but the way I think of empathy is putting myself in someone else's shoes. Can I feel what they feel? Can I imagine coming to the same conclusion that they're coming to? And in this scenario, can I imagine why I might act the way that they're acting right now? And so I think the biggest challenge I think of this is stopping and realizing that you should go through this. But basically, just stopping and going through this quick exercise can help you really work on your empathy, which again is another tool that we are always trying to make ourselves better, to be able to do better for our teams and our community. So practicing empathy. And we'll go through this exercise in a similar way. So first, imagine a time when you did not feel understood. So this question is key. What does it feel like? How does it feel in your body? How does your stomach feel? How does your heart rate feel? How does it feel maybe in your head? What are those emotions feel like when you're not understood? Okay. What could that person have done differently to help you feel more understood and in this particular situation? All right, so the next part here is imagine being a person that you disagree with. Remember what it felt like to be misunderstood. And how would you want to approach that person to help them feel understood? So again, the first part of this exercise, the 3 bullets that is on the top, is exactly that, right? I'm putting myself in those shoes of someone else. I'm remembering what it feels like and really empathizing. I'm really feeling that moment and identifying with it for my own self. And now when I go to the second set of 3 bullets, that can help me approach it in a different way, and definitely with more empathy, but with more compassion and more understanding, so that I can hopefully find a way for better common ground on this. And I think the comment in the chat really elevates. I mean, again, where are people coming from? I personally, maybe I don't feel that I'm nervous about health for whatever reason, right? Maybe I'm feel that I'm young and healthy and that I'm not going to be jeopardized by anyone else. But I need to put myself in the shoes of people who have, maybe they have an immune disorder that I'm not aware of. And so I need to put myself in those shoes where, what would that feel like if I felt nervous and intimidated and mistrust? How would that feel, and how would I approach a conversation with people differently? Especially and I'm extrapolating a little bit, but if people are, if someone is taking all of this very seriously, again, to having their own reasons for that, and someone seems to be making a joke of it or laughing around about or not taking things seriously to the same degree, that can cause a lot of friction. And we really need to, again, use this opportunity to connect with each other, to really try to understand each other. I will caveat that just because we understand each other doesn't mean we have to agree, but I do think it's important to try to put ourselves in those shoes so that we can, be more understanding and be able to work in this world together. So, all right. All right, so I'm starting to shift into the resources that Connect Summit County has and how we can be a partner and help employers at this time, employers and employees. We're here for everyone. So we did this campaign back in January during Sundance, and it was very specific for the service industry, which is hence the martini. But you cannot pour from an empty glass, and you need to take care of yourself first. And a lot of you that are leading teams or parenting, leading households, you are probably putting a lot of people first and be in front of your needs. And as they say on the airplane, you have to put your own mask on first. And there are a lot of different ways that you can do this, you know, taking 30 minutes away, taking a bath, taking a walk, listening to music, exercise, trying to eat healthy. You know, there are a lot of different ways to put yourself first, but don't lose sight of that. It is very easy at a time like this to not take care of your own needs. So if anyone needs it, and you don't need it, but sometimes it's nice to hear, you have my permission to take care of yourself. And you can tell whoever you need to that. All right. Here at the bottom, 435-776-HELP, H-E-L-P. That is the phone line for our peer navigation services, which basically, if you are looking for resources for mental health, this is where you need to start because it can be overwhelming. So chalk it up. Again, this is part of the campaign we did back in January. Talking with someone can help, and we have peer navigation services. And basically, this is a non-clinical, non-crisis line. It's very important. This is not crisis, but it is a person who is a peer. They have lived experiences of mental illness and being a caregiver of mental illness, of people with mental illness, and so they understand a huge wealth of information, and they understand really what a person can be going through when they are reaching out for resources. It is not uncommon. Often people reaching out for resources, they're reaching it out because they are a caregiver, they're a parent, maybe their child is an adult child. In this situation, you might be calling for an employee or an employer. You can also give this number to those employees and employees to be able to reach out. So this 435-776-HELP, you can call or text it. And we also have an email address, resources with an S at connectsummitcounty.org. I put this caveat on here. These are free resources and they're available to anyone, regardless of their insurance coverage. You can be insured and you can use this resource. You can be uninsured and you can use this resource. Ultimately, our goal is to get you to the level of care and the resource that is the most valuable to you. And that might involve your insurance company, that might involve an appointment, it might involve a support group. It might not be any of those things. You might not be ready, or the person might not be ready for those options, and that's okay too. This person, we average an hour and 25 minutes on the phone with people. So we have no agenda. We just want to be there and be that support. So that's this line. And like I said, I would just really encourage you to distribute this information. It's not 24 hours a day. It usually it takes much less than this, but we guarantee a turnaround within 48 hours. So again, it's not a crisis line, but it's a support line. We also put together this mental health toolkit, if you will, and the website, it's on our website, connectsummitcounty.org. And what this toolkit is, all the questions we could think of and that we were getting regarding COVID-19 and the changes in the system. And there's a lot of resources there. We don't dive too deep because we do focus on mental health, but there are links to things like unemployment, food assistance, rent assistance, things like that, so that we can, again, direct people off into those different spaces. And this could be a valuable tool for people that you can access on your own time. And so I want to mention that to you all. And then, of course, I want to remind everyone that you matter. Absolutely. And I appreciate this opportunity so much. Again, it's challenging to be the kind of the back and forth, and so I apologize for not being super interactive, just a different platform that we're all getting used to. But I do welcome any questions in the chat. If you have anything you'd like to share with us, or you would like to talk to us about, or questions, or other resources you know of as well, are super welcome. And then I've mentioned a couple of times that this is my contact information, and I really want to be, we Connect Summit County, we want to be here to serve you and help you during this time. And as I mentioned with my experience with Starbucks, I can imagine that this might not be the most front and center thing, that if you're reopening a business, this might not be the thing that's high up on your list. And so if we can support you, or even handle things for you, or be this resource for you, this is why we are here. And we began our work with the Chamber of Commerce back in September. I believe we still have a lot of work to do, but we absolutely are walking this with you, and we want to be here for you. So please reach out to me just directly if there's anything that I can do for your teams or your businesses.
Great, thank you so much, Deanna. Let's see, does anyone have any questions or anything? You're welcome to put them in the chat, or you can reach out to Deanna directly. I know that like Deanna mentioned, we've worked with them this year on a number of things, and we definitely value the expertise that Connect brings to the community, and especially during a time like this, it's good to have an organization like Connect that can kind of help remind us that it's okay to not be okay, and all those wonderful little gems that she shared today. So thank you again, Deanna, for taking the time to meet with us.
Yeah, thank you. Just thank you so much for recognizing that this is an important conversation that gets had. And I hope that the people on the call today are able to take some nuggets away, as well as I hope that other people are able to watch this down the road. And again, just reach out if there's anything that we can do for you individually.
Great. Well, I don't see any questions, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. But if anyone does have any questions later on, like Deanna said, you're welcome to reach out to her at Connect. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.